2 of this little lecture. And like I said, we'll talk about Hinduism shortly, but we need to understand that some rules, like one that we just mentioned about food being polluted and so on, apply to all Hindus regardless of caste traditionally. And there's other limitations as well. For example, women during their cycle were not supposed to cook or perform certain other duties because they were considered unclean. Widows had to wear mourning clothes, not as in AM or PM, but clothes that indicated they were mourning, and could not remarry, and they could not participate in religious ceremonies. And we'll talk more about this and you read some things about this as well. All societies have struggled with what to do with widows. And in the case of India, people hear about widow burning and stuff. It was never and is not a common practice. But the problem is when a woman passes to her husband's family, her family connections are severed. So when the husband dies, that connection is severed, and her old family connections have already been severed. So it's like, what do you do? What do we do with her? But she was not allowed to remarry. What we might call Orthodox Hindus have rules about what foods can be eaten on what days, how to lay down, what way to face when eating, and they have so on and so on. You know, look, food taboos and stuff are pretty common around the world in all societies. And, you know, you might say, well, we don't have any. Well, yeah, we don't generally eat dogs. So that would be a food taboo. In a lot of parts of the world, you can only eat with your right hand, regardless of whether you are right or left-handed, because the left hand is considered the bathroom hand, and that's impure. So I took a trip to Senegal in West Africa back in 2002, and that was something that they drilled into us because a lot of things you eat with your hands. So you needed to make sure not to touch the food with your left hand because that was the dirty hand. So people were sitting on their hand and stuff like that to make sure they didn't reach in there with the wrong hand. There were also sometimes specific rules about how to start your day. Tradition frowns on the eating of meat, especially beef, but the majority of Indians today are not strict vegetarians. Now, what appears to us to be a very rigid and inflexible system actually provides a lot of stability and continuity to the society. Each caste was free to, pursue its own lifestyle without fear of interference. The village became the center of life, not politics or the kingdom. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Rise and fall of empires have an impact on people in power, but not on the majority of castes. Majority of castes. Now, invasion, might be bad if the conquerors marched through your fields or raised your taxes, but it could be good if they lowered your taxes or built up the infrastructure. On the positive side, the caste system, is the fact that the caste system allowed the coexistence of people at many different levels of society. It allowed everybody a set place, and the different castes needed each other. Also allows for, a relatively easy absorption of other groups over the next couple of hundred years. As time goes on, though, it does become more rigid and more inflexible. And so you might wonder, well, why would people put up with a system that is sort of inherently unjust? Why would you tolerate that? And to understand this, we will need to discuss Hinduism. And I'll either do that via this kind of lecture, or I haven't decided yet, to be honest. So this concludes part 2, which is our discussion of the caste system, and you'll see an assignment based on this.